Okay, let's do this. Thanks, Avinash. Hey, everyone. I hope you guys are having a nice weekend. My weekend is just starting. It's Saturday at 6:30 a.m. in the morning. Usually, I don't get up at this time because it's bloody cold here in Mexico City. I guess it's about 4 degrees or 5 degrees now. Uh, but uh, but thanks for everyone who's joining in. First, I wanted to thank Abhish for giving me the opportunity to put together this event. A lot of people in this community of remote Indians have discovered remote working recently thanks to the pandemic. And I felt the natural transition from there, at least for a percentage of people in the community, is to become digital nomads post pandemic. So I thought it might be a great idea to set up a discussion with digital nomads from India, because we have specific issues which are very much Indian, and there are a set of FAQs which pop up to all Indian digital nomads every now and then. So I thought if I can bring together a couple of Indian digital nomads who have been doing it for a couple of years, it might be a good discussion. So we have with us 4 digital nomads. There might be more here, but these are the 4 friends I know who I invited to this panel. There are 4, including myself. And then we have Tirumal from visatraveler.in. He has been digital nomading for a while now. And then we have Pravin. Give me a second, guys. Sorry. Then we have Pravin, who has been following us, our digital nomad journey for a while now, and he's a digital nomad himself. And we have Devansh here also. So welcome, everyone. I hope you guys are ready for a good panel.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Nice to
Okay, let's start with a set of introductions. Why don't you start, Praveen?
Sure. Well, I think it's almost been 4 years now for me that I've been working remotely. Sorry, I couldn't connect via the laptop, so I'm going to look like this now. It's been interesting. So I think I met you guys in 2016 or 17. Second breakfast in Bangalore itself, when you guys were having your meetup. And I think you guys were one of those rare people that I found who were full-time traveling in India. And that was definitely inspirational. And I have been doing it 6-8 months as home base in Bangalore and 3-4 months traveling. So that's been my fundamental thing, because that really sets the tone for me in the balance from work and travel and all those things. Professionally, I'm a data analyst, data scientist. So I work in the big data role, and I work currently with enterprises who have data problems as a freelancer or as an agency. So yeah, that's like a quick intro from my side.
How about you, Tirumal?
Well, I met Avi and Ruchi about last year, I think, right? 2019. Yeah, I think that's when I met them. But I've been a digital nomad for about 4 years. I started in 2016. Before that, I used to be a programmer. I worked as a .NET programmer for about 12 years, 4 years in India and 8 years in the US. And then I changed my careers from being a programmer to a blogger. And since then, I've been a digital nomad and blogger. So yeah, that's about it.
I'm sure. I'm sure everyone would have landed on your blog, a blog called Visa.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah.
I mean,
I was even going through it, very, very good stuff.
Even if you do basically don't know that's the Visa Traveler blog, but like if you search on where can Indians travel on US visa, I think that's the first result always, and you would have gone through it. But I'm sure everyone here would have done that Google search. Why don't you give a quick introduction, Devansh?
Yeah. Hi guys, I'm a mobile app developer. So I've been remote for quite a lot of years. So And I always had this vision of digital nomad. And yeah, I think Avi pointed out 4 years ago when they posted on Facebook, I commented on that post, I envy you guys. And yeah, so I've been a nomad for 2 years now. Last year I did an international trip Southeast Asia for 4 months. And this year I was planning to do Europe, but COVID. So let's hope that yeah, next year I can go to Europe. And yeah, I just returned from 1 month kind of vacation from Himachal right now. So currently I'm working on my own mobile app, and it's thankfully generating good enough revenue. So I'm just keep working on that and keep traveling.
Nice. To give a bit of context on like what everybody mentioned about me, and they threw in the name Ruchi also. Me and my wife Ruchi, we have been digital nomads for the last 4 years now. Exactly last 4 years, in the sense that on November 17th, it was 4 years since we gave up our rented house in Bangalore and decided to get on the digital nomad journey. And since then, we have been living out of a suitcase. And I've met all of the panelists today, except Devansh. Hopefully that can happen soon. On my journey as a digital nomad. Thanks for introduction, guys. As you guys touched a little bit on, then my next question is that what were you guys doing before being a digital nomad, and what are you guys doing now, and how was the transition? Why don't you go for it, Devansh?
Yeah. So I was working in Ola initially, and then I had my own company, and then I started freelancing, and then now I'm working on my own app. So it's like there's not a single switch or transition that is there for this thing, but I always wanted to do this, that I know for sure. So it's been like 5-6 years now. I wanted to do this, so I took actions. I was taking steps so that I could keep living this way, and finally I can say that I can do this full time now. So yeah, it was very intentional, very deliberate. Any decision that I took, it was kind of designed so that this happens. And yeah, even now I have a lot of upcoming projects which I'm very excited about, but it's too early to speak about because sometimes you get too excited and don't follow up on them. But yeah.
What about you, Tirumal?
Oh, well, like I said, I was a programmer before. So I was working in the US, and so I think 2 years before I started my journey, in 2014, my visa expired and I had to work 4 months for my company, from somewhere outside. So, naturally, everyone told me to go back to India and work from there for those 4 months. But I decided to go to Mexico. And that changed everything. That's when I realized I can travel and work for my company and be productive at the same time. So yeah, so that's when I learned this can be easily done. So I went back to US and started working from the office and started convincing my manager. But things didn't work out, and it got delayed and delayed, and then I couldn't wait too long. So I decided I'm gonna switch my career. So slowly started my blog, started build it to a level where it started making some money. Then I decided this is the time. So I just left, and first initially I went to Mexico and started writing more content, building my blog for a while until I felt comfortable to travel continuously, and then I started traveling from then. So yeah.
Yeah, Mexico tends to have that effect on everyone.
Definitely, yeah.
For me, for sure. And I've been here for a year now. And I wish like Mexico was more accessible to India as such, because it's such a long journey. But India has Southeast Asia, I guess. What about you, Pravin?
Yeah, for me, I was working at a normal job in Bangalore for 3 years before I shifted, and I realized just by year 1 or year 2 that this is just not for me. The whole going to the office and seeing the Bangalore beautiful traffic, that this just won't work. And I like how Devansh used the word design. So yeah, even I set out to design or strategize something, but of course plans don't really fall into place. And I tried a bunch of things. I even took a sabbatical from my work for a month to try out a few startups or something, but nothing really worked out. But in 2016, I found out freelancing on Upwork, and that's when things really clicked for me. And I found my first few clients, and things really went smooth. And on Independence Day 2016, I gave up my job and celebrated my own Independence Day. So
Nice. I see most people, for all three of you, the transition has been getting into freelancing, except for Tirumal, and then getting into full-time digital nomad. It's something similar for me. I've been a digital nomad for actually 10 years now because I've been remote for 10 years. I did stay in Bangalore for 2 years in the middle on 2015-16. That's when I met my wife, and we both decided to like take off instead of being in Bangalore. But I already had initially remote gigs, and which were full time but remote. And then after that, I decided to take up freelancing, like you, Pravin. So now I freelance. So let's answer the first biggest question, which we all get for sure when it comes to digital nomad, is income, right? A lot of people want to get into this, and they do get into this without making sure they have enough income. So for the question I have for you guys is like, if you have to start being a digital nomad after the pandemic, because this, for a lot of people, this is the first time they're experiencing even remote life. How much income is a good income to like basically get into it? Any one of you, go for it.
All right, I'll go first. So I always do my math in terms of US dollars. So I'll give my numbers in US dollars. I think in Southeast Asia, you can easily survive with $500 a month. So yeah, the rent is not that much, probably $200 if you go for a monthly rental. And if you're staying in hostels, much cheaper. But I would suggest, getting a private room, or maybe, renting an Airbnb for a little longer. So that way, you have your own space, you have more privacy, you have more quietness to work in the nights if you have to. And yeah, the food is not expensive, and transportation, everything is manageable. So $500 is what I think is minimum you should have in order to be a digital nomad in Southeast Asia. But for Mexico or anywhere in Latin America, probably 750 to 1,000. That's the minimum you should have. And I've been in places where I was able to manage within $750 a month, but there was also places where I almost spent 900 to 1,000. So it kind of varies. So that's the range, 750 to 1,000. But if you want to be a digital nomad in countries like US, Canada, or Europe, it can be a lot more, maybe 1,500 to 2,000, even more. So
yeah, 500, and the destination for India is mostly Southeast Asia to start with, if that's the budget.
Yeah, I think that's manageable. $500. I don't know if you do the math. It's not that much. If you have decent job or freelance gigs, then I think you can manage that very easily. So yeah, it's doable.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's about right. And even for the same reason, I started out with Southeast Asia last year. And this was the time when I was actually building my product full time without any income. But I was able to do that. And just before the pandemic, I made the app added a paywall over there. But yeah, I think about $500 is good enough for Southeast Asia. You'll find plenty of good hostels, Airbnbs, and food and transport is cheap. So what I found very interesting was it's about as good as, at least in countries with, let's go with the nomadic index on the nomad list. So on the list, if you research a lot, right? You'll know what are the good places, and you speak to people. And when you speak to people, you see, okay, this is manageable. This is as good as living in India in any of the bigger cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore.
Yeah.
And that's was very good revelation for me. So instead of paying rent in an apartment over there, you could save up at home like for a couple of months and then go for a trip for a couple of months, and it works out evenly in that.
Yeah. What about you, Pravin?
Yeah, I agree on the prices. The only thing is personal finance and investing and all those things also come into picture, and you should try to increase that, and you should think 10x and not just small numbers too, because many times what people do is they I'm going to take a contrarian view here. I meet a lot of budget travelers who will constantly be in hostels or constantly be in places, and in the name of finding themselves, or finding whatever it is that they're searching. So I'm not saying that's bad. I mean, that's beautiful, that's amazing, but if you're doing it for 10 years, it's kind of a little weird, right? So I mean, if someone's finding themselves at $10 a night a hostel for 10 years, so that's not exactly the kind of life that people would look up to. Or I mean, I'm not doubting them. So another thing is also, I would like to say that that minimum amounts is perfectly fine, but you should also look at how you can 10x that, how you can stay at $5,000 a month, right? And all those things. So that's one thing I would like to add, because only then you can also try to grow your career, right? Because it's always fascinating that people can just look at the good aspects of travel and forget everything about the career, right? Or
Yeah.
forget about growth in the app they're building or the thing that they're doing, right? So that's also another important point that people miss out when they're just looking at the beautiful things in travel. So yeah, that's my main point.
That's a great point, Praveen. That's the thing. Like a lot of people get into this without their personal finances figured out, and then they realize after 1 or 2 months that it's not for them, or they have to go back to India. So a good idea is to figure out personal finances before you get in. But so all of you agree that $500 is a great amount to start. If that's the cost of living we are looking at in Southeast Asia. We have a question from Rushal. I should have taken this up, but here we go. Before this, would anyone tell what exactly a digital nomad is? Does an on-site worker while traveling offshore offices is a digital nomad? I guess you are if you are basically going from one office to the other every 2 months. In the sense that usually digital nomads are people who are basically going from one place to the other. Unfortunately, I would like to stay like 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months in a place. But thanks to our passport and visa situation, which we'll get into later, we can't stay that long. But usually a digital nomad is a person who basically moves from place to place every other month or maybe 3 months, and has a stable income which he or she does while traveling. That's my definition of being a digital nomad. If you are going to an offshore office and living in a place, because there's a difference between going to like maybe the US or a particular place in around the world and staying there for long term. That's different, and that has different challenges from being a digital nomad. Thanks for the question, Rushal.
Avinash, I would like to add a little bit to that.
Sure.
I think also having the flexibility to choose your location is also part of being a digital nomad. So, you can be wherever you want to be.
It's more on the freedom side also. Like, it's like you have the freedom to choose where you want to work, with whom, with what community you want to be associated with what experiences you want to have, and the kind of places you want to live again.
Yeah, so I guess the word we are looking for is like being location independent. That's the number one thing before you become remote and then digital nomad, right? So moving on, I wanted to address a set of FAQs which we all get for sure. To starting with visas. How do you guys manage visas? And a question which basically goes with it is, how do you guys manage finances? Not in terms of income, but in terms of tax and accessibility to the money you are making. So usually what's your structure? Are you a tax resident in India? So I'll take this up. Yes, for the last 4 years, I've been a tax resident in India, even though I've not been in India for the last 2.5 years. I still pay tax in India. Technically, for everyone, because we travel on tourist visas, technically we are still residents of India, so we pay tax there. So I do pay tax in India. So all my transactions, the ATM charges, the conversion charges, I personally consider them as the cost of having this lifestyle. I don't like think more a lot about it. Yes, that's there, but I just think it as the cost of having this lifestyle. If there are other financial setups from others here, that'll be great to hear. I learn something also for sure. So go for it.
Well, I lived in the US, so all my bank accounts and brokerages, investments, everything are in the US. And I mean, you do a lot of freelancing, and you work for a US company, so you know how to get paid in USD and and then convert that into INR, right? So, well, I mean, I don't have to because I have the cards. I can easily withdraw cash and from my US accounts. So that's how I manage my finances. But I think there are ways for Indians also to invest in the US, open brokerage accounts there, and there are some options for Indians as well if they want to get paid in USD and then move that USD directly into an investment account in the US. So there are options for that as well.
Interesting. So yeah, for me, when I started last year, so it was very difficult for me to figure out. But yeah, so firstly, I wanted to have, like, even if I go without work for 3 to 6 months, then even then I should be good enough. So that is one thing that I consider when I travel. And so basically 6 months of expenses you should have it. You should have kind of a buffer, and in case of emergencies, and along with that, credit cards and travel cards. Yeah, so I avoid paying withdrawing cash as much as possible, but yeah, in Southeast Asia there are a lot of places you have to withdraw cash, and then one single big transaction most of the time.
Makes sense.
Yeah, pretty much similar. Mine is taxpayer in India itself. One more thing that helped is having a private limited account and taking private limited or a LLC business accounts in India. That helps in taking transactions from the US, and it makes you more legitimate in front of US clients because you actually have what do you call, a proper business setup here. And it also helps in visa situations where they know that I will come back to India, right? I have a proper private limited company and I have an LLC, so they know that I will come back to India and I'm not going to stay there. So getting a European visa or getting a US visa is much more slightly smoother because they'll be like, okay, he has this big thing, right? The other hack people use is also owning some part of house or some property in India. So that they will, it's the bias is there that, oh, he will come back because he's got this thing in India, right? And he's got this big liability or an asset in India. So those things also help. And I would up that from Devansh and make that 12 months. 12 months of expenses, always. That's a minimum you should have if you're in freelancing and things like this. So yeah, initially 6 months is good, but aim for 12 months minimum.
Nice. I agree with you on the on having a LLP, which that's what I have in India. It helps us for visa situation, like you said. I don't transact that much through LLP. Maybe I should, but it does help with the visa situations in the sense that one, it's a tether to your country. So when applying for a visa, people are like, okay, you're employed in India. Yes, you are because you own a company. And then you can show finances through the company or your personal accounts. It doesn't matter, but having that I have an LLP with me and my wife as directors, so we both can say, okay, look, we are working in India, so give us the visa. And addressing the visa situation, like we can't, none of us can help it, but I guess most of the time for certain countries, you have to come back to India to apply for the visas. That's a cost of living this lifestyle, I guess. Anything to add regarding visas?
Yeah, I think there are some countries where, you know, you can
Oh yeah, we have a visa expert here.
apply for visas only from India. Yeah. So, well, I mean, so you have to come back to India at some point to apply for those countries. But I think planning your travel for a year ahead will help you, like where exactly you want to be in the next 1 year. So, you know, which countries you're going to be, what's your route. And then you identify the countries that needs visas, and if you can apply them while traveling, or you have to apply them in India. If you have to apply them in India, and then apply them before you leave. So it requires a little bit of planning, but I think that planning is very much essential, especially for, you know, people like us with Indian passports. So yeah, planning is essential. That's what, yeah, I suggest.
Thanks. So we have a question like, how do you guys handle healthcare? I was about to get to this. Personally, I have a healthcare plan from Safety Wings. I guess that's what everyone has now as nomads. Safety Wings is a YC-based company. In the US, it has coverage to, I think, anywhere in the world. But if you're going to the US, your premiums get higher per month. But the best thing about Safety Wing is there's no term limit on the insurance. You pay a monthly premium, so you can cancel the insurance at any point of time, or add add-ons like, okay, if you're headed to the US, you can say, okay, increase my premium because I'm headed to the US. You don't have to pay for like one whole year. You can pay monthly. Like they've sassified that like anything else. That's my insurance setup. What about you guys?
Well, currently we are in one place in Vietnam, so we are not moving around. So I don't have a insurance right now, and you know, healthcare is pretty cheap here. So I mean, recently I got food poisoning. I went to a hospital, and it cost me like $30 to get some, you know, testing done and all that stuff. So it's not too bad. So, but if you're traveling, you have to definitely have insurance, and you know, it kind of feels like it's an overhead. You're unnecessarily paying for it, but you know, when things go wrong, that's when you realize how important insurance is. And like you said, yeah, Safety Wing I think is the best one right now, because it's geared towards digital nomads. They understand digital nomads very well, so the insurance is built for digital nomads, so it's fantastic. Yeah. And premiums are not that expensive either.
Yeah. Anything to add, Devansh and Pravin?
I had a travel insurance from ICICI for Southeast Asia, but I didn't have any health insurance. I have a health insurance in India from Star Health, but so it again, as Tirumal said, right, it depends on where you're going. I believe you will need health insurance for US and Europe, and it also depends on how long you're going, how long your journey is away from your home. So that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, similar thoughts. Having a local one here for India, and whenever I travel, I just book either ICICI Lombard or Bharti AXA from the ticket itself. It is either a few months long. But yeah, interesting to know about Safety Wing. I'll check that out.
Yeah, even I didn't know much about it. I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, it's more for people who will not come back to India, because insurance in India travel insurance in India can only be activated when you are in India before you travel. So if you don't have a purview on how long your trip is going to be, that'd be a problem, because your insurance will expire and then you don't have any insurance. So that way, Safety Wing makes for it's a great product for digital nomads. Okay, so do you guys have encountered any other problems which are specific to Indian digital nomads? Because most of the other problems with digital nomads are addressed by many people from around the world who are expert digital nomads. But any other India specific problems? And
I mean, the biggest has to be the visa. And yeah.
Yeah, anything else other than like visa and managing finances? Because why I keep bringing up finances in terms of access to your capital is that Indian banking is not that great when it comes to like international banking and being a digital nomad. For example, right now, because I haven't done my KYC and I couldn't update it online, my ICICI bank account is blocked. So you just like lose access to all your money because you're outside of India. And they're asking me to come to the nearest ICICI bank branch, which I said I can't because I'm in Mexico for another year, I guess. But fortunately, I have backups. I have other accounts in other banks in India, so I'm okay with it. That's why I keep bringing up finances as one of the biggest problems which Indian digital nomads face. For example, I'm sure Tirumal has a way easier, like because of the banking in the US and how easy it is. But apart from finances and visas, have you guys encountered any problems which are just India specific for Indian digital nomads?
Well, I think one-time passwords is a hassle to deal with when you're traveling long term, and you got to keep your India number, and you got to keep paying for it. So yeah, I do have bank accounts in India, and I do have to do some transactions here and there. And every time I have to do those, I have to put my India SIM card in there, and get the OTP and then use it. So that's one specific problem that I deal with, and it's a little bit annoying, but I don't see a workaround for that. And if you have any other suggestions, or is that also a problem for you guys? I want to hear your.
It's definitely a problem for me. But people say that if you declare yourself as a NRI, which I don't want to, and I'm not technically, you can have a US number or any number outside of India as your OTP number. Then you can get one of those US numbers which can be accessed anywhere in the world. But that solution has not worked for me. So for now, it's changing the SIMs is the only solution. Pravin and Devansh, any solutions for us regarding OTPs?
So as Abhishek said, right, I used to get my OTPs over email, but I did remember once I had to plug in my chip. I had some sort of incoming plan or something that I could receive OTPs, but it wasn't expensive for me. But I haven't traveled as extensively as you guys. I think Southeast Asia wasn't that of a hassle for me, but yeah, something to keep in mind for future.
Yeah, dual SIM phones are my backup. I haven't found a solution yet. So, yeah.
Cool. Tirumal, I had a question for you. Like we have touched upon this before in this panel also. You are the only one of the panelists who basically went from having a day job to blogging, in the sense that when anyone wants to become a digital nomad, the first thing they look at is, oh, I'll become a blogger or a YouTuber, and then I'm good to go, even before they have written their first article or made their first video. I'm curious about your experience on going from a desk job to being a blogger. And is it a feasible route to become a digital nomad? It is feasible for you, but what was the pros and cons?
It's like any other income stream. So you have to look at it as an income stream. So you're going to have to build that as an income stream that gives you enough income to sustain your lifestyle. But blogging is of all of the income streams, blogging is the most slowest in my opinion. It takes 2 years to get full-time income from blogging. So, leaving a job and suddenly started blogging is not a great idea. You have to do this parallelly while you have a day job, and then you slowly see if your blogging is going in the direction that you want it to go. And then you gain some confidence, and either you can leave your job or maybe negotiate remote work or take some freelancing jobs, and then continue working on your blog. And once your blog becomes successful and have enough income coming in almost as equal to your salary, that's when you can leave your job and continue blogging. But thing with blogging or any other any kind of setups, they're not always the same. They can be up, they can be down. So they can be doing really good and getting a really good income, and you're you don't have to have a job, but suddenly things can go down, and traffic can get hit, or pandemics come in, and tourism may not be the important thing for everyone. So yeah, your income can get affected, and so you have to plan well. So blogging as only one income stream may not be the best option. You can have blogging as your main income stream, but you got to have or build other income streams so you can compensate of lack of income from blog with other income streams. So investing, trading, or multiple blogs in multiple niches, and continuing your freelance jobs, freelance writing. All of these are good, and you should be doing more than one.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
Hello.
been my experience also, in the sense that we didn't start. We have a YouTube channel which makes some money, but it doesn't make enough money to sustain ourselves. So we do freelancing on the side. A lot of people make the mistake that, okay, I'll become a digital nomad being a blogger. As Tirumal mentioned, that's not the way to go. That's why I wanted to bring up that specific point. Going from blogging to freelancing, Pravin, you have worked with Upwork. For people here, it will be more relevant, in the sense that how do you go about getting freelancing gigs if you are not remote?
So I think one very important prerequisite is having a skill and having worked at least 1 or 2 years in your industry. Because newcomers, when they ask about freelancing, it's very tough to enter the market, because it's unless you have a skill and unless you have something that you can give to your client, it's extremely tough for you to get started. And I had a decent skill of working in 3 years in big data, which is growing at that time and is still growing. And developers and web, mobile, and software development is always the number one thing, always in online freelancing world. Upwork's number one category has always been web, mobile, and software development. So that's what the remote Indian community is too, and there's a lot of developers in there. So you guys have it easy. There are always projects in web development online, and data science is a very, very small category in online freelancing. So I think the right approach is to build a nice profile to get a great skill that you have, and you work 1 or 2 years, and then you go about getting your clients. And once you get at least 3 clients, you can think about moving on, because one could be luck, second could be your mom or dad, third could be just anyone else, and only then after 3 clients is when your journey really starts. And I would highly recommend getting the first 3 clients and then increasing rates and going from there and all that. So that's what I did personally, and that's what has really helped me in going from extremely small businesses to startups to medium businesses to enterprises. Because my main company, the ideal client was enterprises in my case, because only they have the real data sets. But for a developer or for someone in the other industry, they can target anyone. So defining your dream client avatar and all those things, doing that work before getting into freelancing is crucial for getting successful. So yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks, Pravin. Devansh, you are focusing on building your app now. Was that the reason you decided to pause being a digital nomad? And do you think could you like build an app while being a digital nomad?
Yeah, so actually that's what I did last year. Last year I
Okay.
stopped.
Right.
Before traveling, I stopped freelancing, and when I was traveling, I was only working on my app. This was kind of contrary to what we've been discussing, but yeah. So I was like full time traveling and working on the app, and I came back and I was gearing up for to travel again before the pandemic. So the travel stopped because of the pandemic and not because of that. And right now I can just, yeah, I'm working full time on it. I'm working on even further ideas, and it's given me more freedom, more flexibility of the choices that I have. So I can choose what kind of projects I want to be involved in. And for me, like, it was a good transition to move away from freelancing and get into building my own product. It's given me a lot more peace compared to when I was freelancing.
I'm sure like having your own thing always helps to make increase the freedom you have as a digital nomad for sure. Right. Um, so
Yeah,
a
but
round
as
of
Tirumal said, right, it took me almost 1.5 years. I've been constantly working on the app, and it doesn't pay off immediately. You have to consider like building it up, keep on building, keep on improving, and you have to work every day towards it. And finally, after all those, like say a year, 2 year, it starts paying off.
got it. Um, a round of quick fire questions before we open up the questions to the audience. What's the best place you guys have worked from in India / around the world?
You're talking in terms of like a city or a specific co-working space or cafe, or you talking
Oh,
city?
you can go really specific also, but
Okay.
let's start with the city.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think for me, Mexico City, obviously, and also Guanajuato, and those are really fantastic for me to work from. I was able to focus really well. The weather is great, and food is great, great people. So I think those cities are amazing. In Asia, for me, the city where I'm right now, Dalat in Vietnam is also a fantastic city for me. Weather is great, and it's not that touristy, so you feel like away from all the hustle bustle. So it's amazing. Yeah. So these are the two places, one Mexico and another Vietnam for me.
Yeah, Dalat and eating dragon fruit every day will be nice, right?
Yeah, there's tons of dragon fruit everywhere. The white ones and the purple ones. Yeah.
Nice. What about you, Praveen?
Outpost, Cambodia. They had a very nice green penthouse back then when I was there. And you're up looking next to the river and you're working in a beautiful top of the city view. So, yeah, that was a very nice 1 month that I spent.
Was this Siem Reap or Phnom Penh?
Phnom Penh.
Phnom Penh outpost. That's the place for you. Would you go back there?
Oh, it does not. They don't have the building anymore. It's gone. That's why.
Okay, so where can people go? What's your next choice?
The other is Outpost Bali, Outpost
Okay.
Canggu, and Chiang Mai, of course, because that's the hub. So yeah, and of course the other thing is Co-Hub in Koh Lanta, which I think even Abhishek has been in this panel. So yeah, that is a big one. The community over there is fantastic. It's run by James, and they're actually suffering this year. So if anyone ever plans, Co-Hub is literally 6 hours away from Bangalore. You get on a flight to Phuket, 4 hours, and 3 hours boat, and you're there in Co-Hub in 7 hours, literally.
What's the situation with visas with Indians in
Oh
Thailand?
yeah, so it's not good currently. I hope it will improve. It's currently they're selling 6-month visas, so it's really bad. So yeah.
Yeah, that's about like 40,000 baht or something, right?
Yeah.
Cool. What about in India? Because most people can't travel outside of India, right?
I
So I
was
would recommend.
last month in Dharamkot, and it was beautiful. Like, can't wait to go back.
Any
From
specific?
Wildlife
Like
is
was it
good,
an
and
Airbnb or?
yeah, so there's a co-living, co-working place, kind of a hostel itself, wildlife hostel. It's there in Dharamkot and Manali. Dharamkot was good, Wi-Fi was good. It was like trusted Wi-Fi. So I've in in Dharamkot, you'll get good Wi-Fi in patches. So in some places you'll have good Wi-Fi, good network, in some places you won't. And there are quite a few places over there. So there's one more place called, I'm forgetting the name of the hostel. So there's a small patch in Dharamkot. You have 5 or 6 hostels over there. Most of them are pretty good.
Pravin has started a Google Doc, Google Sheet where he is maintaining all the places in India where we can be remote. I guess we should add them code to that.
Yeah.
Pravin, any other suggestions from you?
Yeah, I'm currently at Nomad Gaon in Goa, which is in Asagao. I've just come back home for a week, but yeah, I'm living there for a month now. So yeah, I would recommend that. They're expanding route. Right now, I think they're full, but the co-working is open. They have like nice 50 to 200 Mbps speeds and nice private rooms and a common kitchen and everything for everyone to use. And they're expanding right now. They're trying to get as many buildings as possible. It's done by one of India's famous digital nomads called Mayur. So he's been traveling for many years even before me, I think. So he's finally settled in Goa with his Vietnamese wife, and they've started this Nomad Gao co-working and co-living and community thing that they think will become really big. And so yeah, I'm checking out this. It's only been 1 year since they're running it, so yeah, that should be an interesting place to check out and look out in future.
Nice. Okay, where are you guys going after the pandemic?
I'm going to Europe.
That was your plan before pandemic?
Yeah.
Very still. Okay.
Be ready for paperwork, Devansh. A lot of paperwork.
Yeah, I'm already prepared for it. Already preparing should be the thing, not prepared.
What about you, Praveen?
I don't know yet. I haven't decided. But it could be Japan. Yeah, I could think about Japan or somewhere in Europe again, or even South America, if I have the time and bandwidth to do that.
Yeah, you should come out to Mexico. You can do it now. Mexico has never closed. So yeah, if you can find a flight, you can come to
Nice.
Mexico. What about you, Tirumal?
Well, I think pre-pandemic, we were traveling in India, Northeast India, and then we were thinking about traveling by land through Central Asia, and but that didn't happen. We had to come to Vietnam when there were a lot of protests happening in India, and then pandemic hit, and I guess we'll be here for another year or so. But after pandemic, after things go back to normal, probably I'll think about that old plan of traveling through Central Asia, overland. So that's still there. But Mexico, I always miss Mexico, and I'm seeing what are my options. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a quick trip to Mexico first, and then think about going somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, I am stuck here in Mexico. I'm happy to be stuck here. I guess the first thing I would do after the pandemic is come back to India because it's been a while since I'm back in India. So that's my post-pandemic plans. So let's take some questions from everyone. Abhish, how do we do this? Abhishek?
Yeah, let me
Or should
just,
we just...
yeah, I think there were few questions, but maybe before we get into that, let me just, thank you for, sharing. Like, the questions were really good. I enjoyed, the discussion, and it's always good to see people like us, doing this for, who have been doing this for a while. I think that normalizes the idea within your head that, oh, Tirumal is doing this, so maybe, like I can also, give this a shot. Otherwise, you're just seeing white people, right? I think that's
yeah.
that's the.
I mean, that's one of the reasons for me to say, like, okay, let's bring together people who have from India who have been doing this, because there are very India-specific problems to be like addressed, which we have been addressing for like since we became digital nomads. So that's was the reason to basically get this panel together. I guess we can all the panelists, we can all leave our contact information in the chat so that if anyone has questions after the session, they can reach out to us also.
Yeah. Cool. So let's maybe, start with Vishal's question, as in, I think he was mentioning this thought about the confusion regarding, which type of visa works, because, it's kind of a gray area, right? You cannot normally work on a tourist visa. So how do you, allay some of those fears? And is it, cool to like do get clients when you're actually on the road, doing business related stuff? So yeah, I think that's a good question. I think that's one of the fears that people do have.
Yeah, usually the thing is like all my clients are from the US. So working on a tourist visa is okay if you are not getting a job or a project within the country where you are in. Like for example, I'm in Mexico. If I don't get a project here from Mexico, it'll be all right. What's ethical is also is like, I mean, you can circumvent that in the sense that, okay, you ask the company or the project owner to send the money to outside of Mexico, then it's legally okay. But I don't know if it's ethically okay or not to do it. So for me personally, my all my projects are from the US. So and I get paid in India. So technically, I'm not breaking any rules that way.
Yeah, I think that's the consensus within the digital nomad community. Like until we have some special visa for people like us. So let's see. Any
Yeah, that's the other question which I wanted to ask, but because we are out of time, I basically didn't ask that. One is like, because of the pandemic, a lot of countries are coming up with freelancer visas, which are basically allows you to enter the country and stay there for a long term, like 1 year plus, and you can work from there, but you can't get a job there. So if you're making money from outside of India, outside of the country, a lot of countries are opening up for that setup. Dubai opened up recently. Estonia opened up recently. Spain always had it. Mexico always had it. So these are definitely freelancer visas are something to look into.
Interesting. So until we have more questions coming in, I think I'll maybe take the luxury of asking my own question. So I was just wondering, how has digital nomadism changed your worldview? And do you think, like, people generally say that you can change your worldview either by reading a book or maybe traveling to places? So is that to be is that true in your case, and how has it changed your thinking about life? Because I think in India, like, as long as you're in India, I think there's a different mindset that you operate in. So I'm curious to know about that.
Why don't you guys take it up? Anyone of you?
Yeah, I met some cinematic videographers in Bali, and I was like truly inspired by them. I met them in Tedaling rice terraces in Bali. So they built their own drones and built cinematic footage using that, and it was crazy. It was like I hung around with those guys for 2 days, and I hung around with a lot of creatives. So not much of that is now it's happening in India, but the kind of ethic or the kind of schedule that these guys operate in, it really inspired me back then.
Yeah, I think same for me. Meeting people who are as different and as alike my mindset has been brilliant, because the more different people I meet, the more new ideas I get of growing in my own way or building new businesses or whatever I want to do. So it's been wonderful to meet people at co-working places, co-living communities, and all that. So yeah, that's been a big one.
Tirumal, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was gonna add something. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Devansh, Pravin, and Avi, that your perspective changes and you start looking at things in different way. But I think for me personally, I think confidence is one thing that really improves when you're traveling, because you meet like-minded people and you take inspiration from many people, and people don't judge you. So that way, what happens is you can open up and you can talk about your fears or anything, and that way they won't judge you, but they give you a lot of
Yeah.
information that you can consume, and that helps you personally develop yourself, so your confidence grows high. And um, I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs who just started traveling like backpackers, and over the time, during their travels they met people, and that's where they started looking at themselves, like what can they do, how can they be like those people, and they have become entrepreneurs themselves later on. So I think that really helps when you're traveling. But when you're in one place, it's a little bit closed, and you're just meeting the same people all the time. And if those people are not high aspiration people, then you're not gonna gain anything from them, and you're gonna remain that way. So I
Yeah.
think traveling is really helpful.
Completely agree with Tirumal, and over the what he said about fear. So once you get out, before getting out, you have all these questions: how will you survive, and all these things. And once you do that, once you have these experiences, then you become more confident. You get over a lot of these insecurities or fears that you've been having. So that's so powerful. And then when you're traveling, it's so inspiring. Like you feel so fresh, and what Thirumal said, that if you're bound to one place, you'll be limited to one set of experiences and the mindset also, because every community, every locality will have their own kind of conceptions and a very limitations. It's kind of a bubble, right? If you don't go out, explore more, you won't know what it is out there, what it is like out there.
Um, I agree with Devansh and Tirumal in the sense that you get to meet a lot of people, a lot of new experiences. But after doing this for 4 years, there's been another realization that as much as people are different upbringing, different backgrounds, and you can learn from them, you start to realize people are the same everywhere. Like they have the same like goals, they have the same fears, they have the same it's this like what motivates people is the same. So it you are more open to experiences, then more open to curiosities, because now you treat them as yourself. So that basically reduces the somehow bias we have, in the sense
Yeah.
that we are close-minded. It opens you up for new experiences. You could go to a new place and be close-minded. I know this is a big problem with us Indians, in the sense that whenever we go outside of India, the first thing we do is compare it with India. That's not the right way to go about it. Like, you are not achieving anything by immediately comparing it to India. Like, especially you do that with food. They immediately say, oh, Indian food is better. You have to treat it as as a completely new experience without bias. Make up your mind after that. So realizing that, okay, people are the same everywhere, helped me to basically have an open mind for anything.
That's such a great, like, I really liked what you guys had to say. So I think we are, crossing the time. So thank you again, Tirumal, Avinash, Pravin, and Devansh. Specifically Avinash for, setting this up. I'm so glad that we got a chance to, hang out, and hopefully we can, hang out in real once this pandemic ends. And until things open up, I think we'll have to maybe just keep the wonder list, like just in the box of sorts, and then like at least that's the case for me, I feel.
Or
So
everyone can fly to Mexico today.
yeah. So yeah, that's
If you're gonna buy us tickets,
yeah.
Mexico sounds beautiful, actually. I have a lot of people telling great things about Mexico.
Yeah, so
It's just fantastic.
cool then. So if there's one thing that you want to take away from today's session, you can fly, to Mexico today
Fly to
itself.
Mexico.
Yeah.
Checking flights now.
Awesome. Then I think we'd like to keep this conversation going offline in the Slack group, and I think it's obviously it's going to be interesting. I think like people now have gotten a taste of remote work, and I see that people are now kind of realizing why there was so much like hype about remote work, and I think like some of them would move back to an office, like that's how
Yeah, I'm
things
sure.
are.
Yeah.
But I feel it's a good it's definitely going to change things for sure. Like I'm sure there's going to be visas, like think products like safety wing. I think this is going to happen for sure. So any closing thoughts, guys? I think we'd like to maybe end the session with any closing thoughts that you had, or any shout outs that you want to give. Yeah.
One of the reasons, my main motivation for getting this panel, first of all, Abhishek, you're doing an amazing job with Remote Indian. I love that community, love the community and being part of it. So I know that specifically for remote working people, but I know a percentage of people are going to be digital nomads. That's what I'm more interested in, to get more Indians into digital nomading. So that was my main motivation in organizing this. I hope we can do more activities in terms of with a focus on being digital nomads on the group going ahead. Um, uh, yeah, and final shout out would be that me and my wife, we do live streams from Mexico. So if you are guys missing traveling, head to YouTube Second Breakfast, where we go live every other day from here from Mexico. So if you can't book the flight tickets today, you can still join us in Mexico.
Yeah, thanks, Avi, for waking up so early and
Thanks.
organizing this session. Yeah, and thanks, Abhishek. Thanks, Devansh and Pravin.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys, for this amazing session. Yeah.
Cool. Then I think that's a
Thank
wrap.
you.
Thank you everyone for joining in. Varun, Sridhar, Nikhil. I hope this was good hour spent. Chalo.
It
See ya.
was. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.